Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Derek.
And I'm Heidi.
And you are watching an episode of Not Another Podcast. So, today's topic, first we start off with story time, right? So, the other day, I was talking to this guy, and I had noticed something very interesting. Like, he had a tattoo of a cross on him. And then it just dawned on me, like, what does the cross mean to people? And, you know, I don't know. What do they think about when they see the cross? Because I have this friend, and we had multiple conversations about the cross and what it means. And his idea and his view of it was he didn't like that people wore the cross, got the cross tattooed or anything like that, or like wear it as jewelry or something like that, because he felt as though people were idolizing the cross, and he felt as though people started worshiping the cross itself. And, you know, the cross was, I don't want to say losing meaning, but he felt as though people felt that the power was in the cross and not the one who died on the cross.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I never really heard of anybody that had that type of point of view. Usually, like, people love the cross. Like, you see people wear the cross all the time, necklaces, earrings, tattoos on them. So for somebody to say, like, and he's a believer of Christ, so for somebody to say, like, yo, I don't really think people should be wearing the cross, I never had that point of view ever. Like, I never met somebody like that.
Grow up with, like, someone telling him that, or that's like his personal, like, opinion on it?
I believe it's his personal opinion. I believe. I don't think. Go ahead.
I say that because, like, growing up, like, we never, you know, I grew up in church, and, like, we never had I don't want to call it an issue, but, like, there was nothing wrong in wearing the cross.
Yeah.
What, like, my grandparents and even, like, I don't want to say my parents, but it was mainly like my grandparents will always say was, like, actually still having Jesus still hanging off the cross. That was just not okay for them. Like, you know, I don't want to speak on anybody else. It was more of like what my grandparents had, like, told me, like, you walking around with the gold chain and it's got a cross on it, like, that was, you were representing, you know, what Jesus did for you. Like, you were represent, like, if you were a believer. But, like, as a believer, if you walked around with, like, a cross and it still had Jesus hanging on it, like, they didn't approve of that, because they always said, like, Jesus is not on the cross anymore. So why are you walking around? You know, you can look, like, I would always say, like, you could just be representing it. But they're like, no, like, they just didn't approve of that. Like, they didn't like that. It just,
why,
like,
though? Did they feel like it was, like, disrespectful?
Yes. Like, to them, it was disrespectful. It was like Jesus, like, never came down from the cross. So it basically was like they were trying to say, like, it just deaded the whole event. Which, you know, people can debate that, because it's like you can have it as a representation of, like, what happened and stuff like that. But that's how I grew up. So that's why I asked, you know, was it something that was, like, taught to him as, like, a child, or did he grow up on that?
Okay, hold on, wait. Hold on, because I don't know if I heard you correctly, and I don't know, maybe I'm bugging. You said, like, some people feel as though, like, Jesus... Wait, am I lost? Hold on. Did you say some people didn't believe that Jesus came down from the cross?
Yeah, like, not that, like, like, he basically just, like, stood on there.
Like, so they don't believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
There you go. Like, they don't believe in any of that. So, like, but that was their interpretation to it. Like, it was never you know, like, if I'm going to sit here and you're going to say, oh, I don't believe in that because of this. Like, no, they just seen it on someone, and their belief, or the, you know, it might have been just something that was, like, taught to my grandparents, and they just passed it on. Like, because I've only ever heard it. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, even growing up in the church, like, you don't really hear people discuss the cross, except, you know, like, wearing it, you don't really discuss it. You hear about the cross yes, like you hear about Jesus, you hear about like the story and everything that happened on the cross, the significance of it in the Bible aspect. But like growing up and even now, like it's not really a topic talked about. Actually wearing the cross and what it means to you, or just not being a believer in wearing it. Because you can even debate, like some people don't even like when a non-believer wears a cross.
So yeah, I'm glad that you just brought that up, because I definitely wanted to bring that up later on in the episode. But go ahead, because I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh
but
no,
that's
you're good. But
important.
yeah, like it's just, you know, some things are just taught to you growing up, and you never really like actually seek out for the right answer.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not great advice. Like you always want to seek out, make sure, because you can be led astray, you can be taught, you know, things that aren't true, or that are true, but you just need a better understanding on it. So it's like when my parents like always said that, I mean, I never seen nothing wrong with it, because I truly understand the meaning of it and I know what the cross means. So it's like when I see someone wearing it, like my first question is not, oh, are you a believer or not? Like you shouldn't be wearing that if you're not a believer. Or what is your meaning behind that? Oh, that's not the correct meaning. You should. No, my thing is, oh, it looks nice, I'm going to compliment you and I'm going to keep it pushing. Like I'm not going to sit here and, you know, start picking at you because
I feel like I'm one of those guys.
Oh, you want to start picking?
Yeah, I feel like I think more and more I definitely get that vibe. Like I don't like when people I don't like when non-believers wear the cross. To be very transparent.
Why do you say that?
Because I think people take the cross lightly. I think people take Jesus lightly. I think people take Christianity lightly. And I don't really think people understand how real Christianity was. Like the sacrifices that people made. Like they died. Like they killed you if you said that you were a believer of Christ. Like they killed you and your families. Like that's how real it was. So for people to just put on the cross, and they want to put on the cross because it's a trend, because it's a fashion statement, like that ain't nothing to play with. Jesus ain't nothing to play with. The cross ain't nothing to play with, and God ain't nothing to play with. So when you put on, just like how Paul said before you do communion, before you eat this bread and drink this cup, examine yourself. Know what you doing before you do it, because you just doing this just to be doing it. People was coming and doing communion and they was leaving drunk, and some people was leaving hungry because people just didn't. And then Paul even asked them, do you have anything to eat don't you got something to eat at your house? Why you over here coming here taking communion and getting drunk off the wine, and then you eating up all the bread, and then now the females and the kids ain't got nothing to eat. The widows and the orphans ain't got nothing to eat. Because you don't know how to have your self-discipline, bro. This is for everybody. And that's how I feel whenever I go out and I see the cross on people, because it's like, what does that mean? And for some guy that had the cross on him, I had talked to him about this, and I asked him what did his cross represent and what it meant. And, you know, I knew of him, so he's pretty, you know what I'm saying, he's pretty cool or whatever. Long story short, like he and this isn't me judging. So I want everybody to know this isn't me judging. But, you know, because we're misled and because our mentorship or lack thereof wasn't up to par, people are out here, like I just said earlier, getting crosses and wearing crosses and things like that as a fashion statement. But when I asked him about it, he was like, well, you know, I'm still going to live my life and I'm still going to have fun and I'm going to do what I want, as to say, like, you know, whatever I feel like doing, whether it's sinful or not, I'm going to do it. Especially if it was sinful. Like, he didn't even care. Like, I don't want to get into details because it's a personal story, but like, he just was like, I'm out here. Like, I'm going to do what I feel like doing. I'm going to do what my flesh feels like doing. Like, I'm not. And then I asked him about the cross, though, and it was like, it's one thing for you to be wearing the cross and then you slip up, but you're trying to live a better life. It's another thing you wearing the cross and you're blatantly like, yo, I'm outside and I'm doing whatever my flesh feels like doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's people like that where when other people who don't have a cross on them, they see people like that acting that certain type of way, and then they think like it's cool too. Like, how many iced out Jesus pieces,
yeah,
or iced out crosses and stuff like that? Like, but you can't tell me And this isn't me being prideful, but like people can't tell me a lick about the gospel. They don't know nothing about the gospel, but they just know about the cross. But that's why Jesus is as powerful as he is, and that's why Jesus is Jesus. Because even if Jesus don't know, if you don't know nothing else about Jesus, you know about the cross. That's and right. Like I was telling people before, like you could have asked me 2 years ago, name a Bible verse. The only Bible verse I would have been able to tell you was John 3:16. And I couldn't even tell you the whole Bible verse. I just knew that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. You know what I mean? Like, so even with that being said, when it comes to other religions, not for nothing, there's so much more that people know about Jesus rather than any other religion, which is another reason why I just say, like, for you not to believe that's your choice. That's your choice. But the Bible also says a person who seeks me wholeheartedly, they will find me. Amen. So that's what I always try to tell people. Like, you don't want to know Jesus because you choose not to know Jesus. Like, he existed. Like, he was a real person.
Bring that up.
Like,
now that you bring that up, I was reading some. I think it was a plan that I was working on, and they had mentioned that, like. No, I think I shared it to you. It was on Instagram. And they were talking about, like, the choice that, like, God has given us.
Yeah.
So it was, like, the question was, like, you know, why you think that God has not, like, revealed himself to us? And it's, like, the one guy's answer was so dope because it's all about choices. Like, you have a choice to, you know, when you sit down to get that tattoo or when you go to the jewelry shop to get that cross, like, you have a choice to decide, like, you know, if you want to get this and what does it mean to you. So it's like, it's not you judging, but it's you being firm on your foundation and you knowing the true meaning of the cross and you understanding that kind of, like, I don't want to call it a trigger, but like you're so hard on it because not a lot of people understand the real significance behind that. Yeah. So it's like, and you want to be able to, you want to ask because it's always good to know. Like, that's, you know, you gain wisdom by seeing other people's perspective and, you know, understanding their point of view on what they did it, because you might run into somebody that truly got the cross because they truly wholeheartedly feel like, you know, they understand what happened and they know their, like, you know, scripture behind it and all of that, like, you know, information. Or you might run into people like that guy that is free to do whatever he wants to do, but he just got it because, I don't know what you said, it was
because it's cool to get, because it was a dope tattoo.
Trend, like it was something trendful to him. So it's like we all have choices, and at the end of the day, like the choices you make, you know, eventually, like you there's judgment day for that. So it's like, I'm gonna walk around like I agree with what you're saying. Me personally, I'm not gonna nitpick at people. Like, that's just who I am. You know, if I like the tattoo, if it was nice, you know, we could probably talk about it a little bit. But I don't like nitpicking people's brains, because sometimes, like, it's just the answers it's just not.
I mean, if, like, know, I don't. It literally, that probably was like the only time where I did it. I've seen multiple people, like I seen this one guy, he was out and about and he had about like 3 crosses on his neck, and then on his face he had a cross right here. And again, like that just makes me behind that? See, that's what I'm saying though. What other meaning other than Jesus Christ is behind the cross? Oh, I don't know. Or maybe I'm just thinking about something else underneath the eye. Like, I'm probably thinking like movie-wise or something. That's not no teardrop. You got a cross on your face. So I've actually seen that before, but I don't know. Like, if it leads to it, because if I sit here and I tell you, like, hey, you know, I like that cross, and it leads to a conversation, I'm not going to turn around and walk away. Like, you know, like, if God put me in that position to have that conversation with somebody and see their perspective, then yeah, I would do it. But, like, I wouldn't initially just ask you, you know, oh, what's that meaning behind your cross? I would probably ask you on a different tattoo. Like, if I was to see, like, your leg one, you know, and there's, like, a scripture underneath it, and you got, like, the lamp, I would ask, you know, oh, what does that mean? Because that's, like, but that's, I feel like that's because it's different. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's definitely because it's different. Because typically you don't go around asking, you know, when so many people have the cross on them. Right. Like what was it? Like 2012, the trend was the cross.
earrings and the cross necklace, but it was like a girl's thing for some reason. Like, I don't know, it came like attached to like your clothing, whatever the case was. But like, it's just always been like a trendful thing. So I feel like because it was so trendy, people never really spoke on it.
They modernized it.
Yeah, that's problem. What it was. They modernized it.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with. It's the same thing with homosexuals and the rainbow. It's the same thing. They modernized it.
That is facts. They took something, because I definitely had to catch myself even like, oh, what was it when you went to Hawaii and came back with?
Yeah, it was like, oh, you got the rainbow.
Like, oh, the rainbow, and then it was like, nah, that's not what the meaning of the rainbow is. Like,
facts.
Let's think about Noah here and the covenant, and like,
facts.
Let's realign ourselves. But it was just like at the moment, and you can see how like quickly things can just. Like, they can just change it, switch it up, and take the good that God gave to us and just turn it into evil.
Yeah.
Because if you truly understand the significance of that rainbow, you would understand that we're all here because of that rainbow. Because he could have easily, like, caused another flood.
Yeah.
Throughout how many thousands of years has it been since that?
Yeah.
So it's like, you need to understand how the importance of that rainbow, what that rainbow is, and understand that it's very important in like Christianity, in your relationship with God in general. So yeah,
the covenants in general, man. The covenants in general, like even fasting. Like, this is about to become a whole nother episode, but even fasting, like, people. I was just talking about this the other day. They took the word fasting and then they modernized it, and then now when you go to the doctor, they tell you to fast. But fasting is two types of fast. You got the regular diet, and then you got the biblical fast. You know what I mean? But now that term gets used so loosely that people are like, oh yeah, I'm fasting. And then I don't know if you fasting for the Lord or if you fasting because you got an appointment in the morning.
It's funny to say that too, because I remember for the Daniel fast this year, it was at the beginning of January, and my boss wanted to like take us out, for lunch. Yeah. Like, we had, I don't know what was going on, but he wanted to take everybody out for lunch, and he wanted to go. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was more of like a pasta place. Like, I just knew like that is not the place I'm going to be in while I'm like third day. Facts. Yeah, like I'm third day into the Daniel fast. Like, no. Right. So I had told him like, oh no, I can't or whatever, and like not in a boastful way, but like he asked why, and like I told him like I'm currently doing a Daniel fast, and like he looked at me, he was like, why is it called like a Daniel fast? And I explained to him a little bit about like the book of Daniel and the type of fast that he did and stuff, and he was like, oh, like it's good that you put Daniel fast in front of it. And I'm like, why? And he was like, because when you said fast, like, I just thought you were doing it because you had to do like a doctor's appointment or something. And I'm like, see? Wow, like to see how like people kind of change those things up. Yeah. And like how you said, like they made it into a hospital term. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, originally, if you didn't have the word fast, what would you use in the hospital? Like, I don't even know. Like, you just refrain from food. Like, I
abstain from food, whatever, but they choose fast. They choose fast. They choose fast. They choose the rainbow. They choose the cross and modernize it to where people don't even know what it means anymore, and people are just wearing it just because it's cool. Everywhere you go, you see the cross. It's crazy. That's why I always tell you can't deny you can deny Jesus, but you, like, before you die, unless you're a baby, you're going to see him. Like, he's going to reveal himself to you. Like, you can't deny it. It's up to you at the end of the day to choose to be like, and to be honest, to be very fair, I'm not even sure. And the reason why I say that is because I sometimes I do think about the guy or the girl who never was. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think somebody can, because I think we talked about this before. Do you think somebody can go through their whole life and never be introduced to the gospel?
Their entire life.
Their entire life.
When you're born and you die and never.
And you never got introduced to the gospel.
No. Yes, we did have this conversation before. And I'm going to always say no, because Jesus, it's everywhere. On a billboard, anywhere. In a club, you can have an encounter with Jesus. And I feel like we mentioned this in our previous podcast. Like, you have the choice to build a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
And, build a relationship with God. But God's going to make sure that one way or another, like, you're hearing something.
Yeah.
He's reaching out.
Yeah.
He's always going to pull for you. So it's like whether it happens when you're 10, whether it happens when you're 15, or whether it happens when you're 30. It could even happen like the week before you pass away. But I feel like you're always going to be given that opportunity to have that relationship with God.
Yeah.
And now that's the thing, going back to what we were speaking about earlier. It's your choice whether you choose to water that seed that has been planted, whether it's by an encounter you had with somebody, or whether it's by something you read, on a billboard, or something sparked up, like some kind of knowledge that you just wanted to understand more about it. The choice is yours. You either water it or you let it dry out.
I feel like that's the main I don't want to say the main reason, because I ain't never thinking of reasons, but I feel like that's a very important reason as to why us as believers, we can't hold back how we feel and what we believe in the faith. Like, we have to continue to spread the gospel. I'm not saying spread it obnoxiously, but whenever you get the opportunity to, you should. There should be no reason why you don't. There should be no reason why you don't want to go out and profess your faith. I was talking about this the other day. Like, it doesn't make you're not a square because you believe in Jesus Christ and you believe he died for your sins. You can be the same guy, but at the same time, like, have the same type of, whatever the case may be. I don't want to get all into it, but you can be the same person and still believe that Jesus Christ died for your sins. You can be the same guy. You know what I mean? So, like, for whatever reason, people decide that they don't want to profess it because they feel like it's corny, or they feel as though like people are gonna automatically not listen to you. They're gonna like shun you away, and that's true. That's true. I remember.
Not everybody's gonna receive what you have to say.
I mean, yeah. I remember we were evangelizing at church, and like this guy.
Oh, Lord, what story are you gonna hit us with?
Nah, man. Like this guy was very awkward and weird, to be very honest. Like, he was very awkward and weird, and all I was trying to do is invite him to church. And the guy was very awkward. But you want to know why? He felt some type of way because I was trying to profess the gospel. That's what does that to people. That's what does that to people, yo. They hear what you're trying to say, and automatically, like, they have that spirit, not for nothing, that don't want to hear what you got to say. And like, and you know what's crazy? Boom, the Super Bowl. That Jesus commercial comes on.
And they were bashing it.
In an uproar.
You didn't talk about anything with, what's his name? I don't want to say it wrong. Was it Sam Smith that did like a performance at the Grammy? And you don't hear them talking barely about their sacrifice or whatever it was that was going on, because I didn't watch any of it, but like, I've just heard about it through social media. You didn't hear them discuss that as much as you did when that Super Bowl commercial came on for Jesus, and like, it was on the news how much they wanted to bash it.
What?
And how that was inappropriate to have on there. And it's like, oh, so we're gonna allow this, at the Grammys, and it's wrong for a 30-second Jesus commercial to make it to the Super Bowl? Like,
they got hellfire in the Grammys. They got people doing all types of wicked stuff on stage.
All these things going on at concerts and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, this has been, I watched the Super Bowl for the commercials.
Yeah, word.
So like, that's all I watch it for. I do not know what's going on in the game. I watch it for the commercials.
I'm crying.
I'm sorry, but I've never seen, like, this was the first year that I've seen a commercial that had anything to do with God.
Yeah.
And to see, like,
and Super Bowl commercials ain't cheap.
And they're not. And that's why, like, I remember how hype, like, we got to see that. Like, we were sitting here, like, what's going, like, we were, like, guessing, like, oh, what's this commercial for? What's this? And just to see that ending, like, it just brought such a warm feeling to my heart. Because it's like, no matter where you at, God's gonna present himself. He will reveal himself to you.
In the Super Bowl.
You will, in the Super Bowl. He does not care where you at. He don't care what's going on. Like, he's gonna make sure that you know who he is. Because he's not selfish. And Jesus didn't die on the cross just for a certain amount of people. He died for every single one of us, for every single one of our kids. The ones that were there during when everything happened, the ones from after everything happened, like, he died for every single one of us. So he wants to make sure that you know that, and that God is desperate to have a relationship with you. Because he didn't do that just for the certain amount of people that were there, you know, in the villages when it happened to him, or just 1,000 years afterwards. Like, he did it for the people from this generation, from the next generation, for every single, you know, for every single one of us. And that's why I'm always gonna stand firm on knowing that you will not leave this earth without hearing at least one time. And I feel like God is not even selfish. It could be several times. You could walk away, you could be led astray, and you still gonna, that seed's always gonna be planted, and one way or another, he's gonna, like, somebody's gonna come and put just a little drop of water in, and it's just gonna remind you of everything that you already knew.
See, and that's why I say it's important, and the reason why, I don't have nothing against the cross. So that's kind of why I was but that's how I kind of was thinking the way I was thinking, because my interpretation of it was, it's a symbol. You know, he, like, the way he was thinking was like, yo, people are worshiping it. But I was like, yo, but you got to look at it from this standpoint. It's a symbol. I would rather more people go out and have tattoo crosses or earrings or necklaces or like the apparel that people wear, like, you know, they got different shirts, they got Jesus on them and stuff like that. Like, that's what's going to get people's attention. If you got, like, Bible verses on your hoodie or stuff like that, that's going to get people attention. Really does. There's so many people, whenever I wear, like, my certain type of hoodies, like the hoodie I had, the goat hoodie or the Pray More hoodie, like, I get such a great reaction from those things, because people are like, yo, I love your hoodie, I love that, praise God, all of those things. How is any of that? How are we spreading hate in any way? We're not. We're spreading love. We're spreading joy. We're spreading the gospel. We're spreading the truth.
The good news.
And people look at that and they just get riled up. Like, they don't like that.
And that's going to happen. Like, you're going to have encounters with people that are just like, will leave you shocked.
Yeah,
and it's like, you pray for them and you just walk away while you pray for them and walk away, because it's like, you're going to have people that are going to listen, and you're going to have people that are just going to leave you to the point where it's like, I did what I could. I'm going to pray for you. I still love you. Yeah. But
one of these episodes, I'm going to talk about the time where we went evangelizing, and I seen this guy, like, I don't know if he was possessed by demons. I don't know what happened. But I just bring that up because a part of me felt, when in the beginning when we were talking to him, I kind of felt like he was refusing to say the words that we were trying to get him, not trying to get him to say, but we wanted him to repeat, as far as like him giving or rededicating his life to Christ. Because he went to a Catholic church, like he was Catholic. And we were like, yo, do you have a relationship with God? Are you saved? And then we were trying to get him to repeat the words. And like in the middle, not even in the middle of him repeating the words, like I want to say the second line, boom, he just froze up. Like he just stopped saying everything and he just froze up, and he was like this, and he was looking dead on the ground and eyes wide open. His head, like his whole face started getting red, and he just froze up. And then we were like, yo, you good? And then he was like, yeah, I'm good. And he started laughing and he shook it off a little bit. And then we tried to get him to say it again and again and again. And then something crazy happened. But I'm going to say that for another episode, though.
Wow.
Yes, like it was wild. But I say all of that to just say, like, again, that's another episode of people who just, like, again, to be fair, I don't know if he was choosing to do that, but it just was very ironic how, because before when we were talking to him, he was fine. And then out of nowhere, when we tried to get him to recite the prayer, out of nowhere, he just like everything shut down. And it was like, huh? Yeah, man. So I just feel like if you're out here wearing the cross, just know what you're wearing. Just know what you represent. That's it. That's all.
Understand the meaning behind it.
Like if you don't understand the meaning behind anything else, at least the cross.
Especially if you're making the choice to permanently put this on your body.
See, that's some people don't.
Some people don't care. No, you're right. You're right about that. I'm gonna agree with you with that. Some people don't care, but it's like, if you want the cross, like I don't care whatever else you get, but if you really truly want the cross on your body, like really understand why you want to do it. You know, if you want to go to the jewelry shop and get a cross that still has, you know, Jesus on it, like understand why. Like really truly understand. You know,
like what is your
sacrifice? Like where's your faith? You know, do you understand the sacrifice of this? Like, do you understand that your sins are forgiven? And do you understand that you should be, you know, building a relationship with God? Like,
or even, and we're going to wrap this up real quick, but even just the like significance behind Christianity in general, whether the Roman Catholic era or, you know, AD 200, whatever the case may be, like all the way down to when Jesus died, AD 80, around like, you know, I don't know, the early apostolic fathers, Polycarp, Ignatius, Barnabas, like people like that, Clement of Rome. It's just a matter of like, you just know what you're representing and understand what it meant, understand what the cross means, and understand what the people, because there's forefathers, not for nothing. People have died. Like the apostles died. Like people that knew the apostles died. Followers of Jesus died. Like
everything. And it's like, it's the disciples, but like, do you truly know what like Jesus had to go through? Yeah. For, you know, for us. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you know, yes, of course, like the disciples and everybody beforehand that like had to go through all of that, but like, have you read the word to really truly like just feel it in your heart, you know, to be put through all of that pain and all of that hurt just because he wanted a relationship with you. Yeah. And not even knowing if you truly would want the relationship. He did it with just the thought that you have a choice. Yeah. So it's not like he did it and like now because he did it you were forced. No, he did it knowing that you can still choose to say no. Like that's just strong enough to me. Like that's just like it just brings so much warmth to my heart just to know that like I was valuable enough that even though I was born thousands of years after you did that, like you did it for me. You did it for my future children. You did it for my family. You did it for the people that I love, the people that I consider, you know, me putting myself to a situation, like I don't want to say like that, but like I love my family to death, like and I would do anything for my family. And just knowing that he did that for people that he didn't even know what we look like he didn't even know if we were going to choose to like want to be with him or build like a relationship with him. Like he still chose us and he still chose to go through that pain, through that sacrifice. So it's like really truly understand the meaning of that. Yeah. So even if you choose not to, you know, follow it or whatever the case may be, but just really know what it means, really know what the rainbow means. You know, really know what fasting means. Really, truly know these terms that, you know, come from the Bible and have such an important and impactful meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Well, you already know. Like, comment, and subscribe. All that good stuff. Please definitely put on your notification bell and then follow us if you can. Other than that, man, we just want to thank y'all again for rocking out with us. Until next time. Love y'all.
Peace out.